Hi everyone, and welcome to the SOAFEE Roundtable in collaboration with Embedded Computing Design. I'm Tobias McBride, SOAFEE's Blueprint and Member Manager, and the moderator for today's session. Now, you've probably already heard from my colleagues Robert Day and John Penn, who chair SOAFEE's marketing and technical committees, talking all about what SOAFEE is and the amazing progress we've seen with SOAFEE so far across over 150 members in the last few years. Now, if you've missed that episode, it's really worth a watch, so be sure to check that out. We'll put a link in the description of the video if you're interested. They talked a lot of detail about SOAFEE's mission, bringing together proven methodologies with these deployable building blocks of blueprints from our members to help standardize interfaces and really accelerate software portability. And talking of building blocks, we're going to talk about SOAFEE Blueprints the entire of today. Think of these blueprints as where companies collaborate to solve some of the most varied problems in automotive software. Everything from autonomy to orchestration to determinism to virtualization and so much more. These are real examples, workloads and technologies, solving real-world problems, but they're also in the open source and commercial spaces. So rather than just hear me waffle on about it, we have an awesome panel joining me today, all of whom have developed their own SOAFEE blueprints. So let's go ahead and meet them. I'd like to start, actually, CJ, let's start with you on your side. Can you just introduce yourself, your role, and in one sentence, what's the mission of your blueprint? Basically, your elevator pitch.
Sure, thanks, Tobias. So Christian John, CJ, as many of you know me. I'm the president of Tier 4 North America and the board member of the Autoware Foundation. And our blueprint, what we're looking to do is to enable an open autonomous driving software stack on the SOAFEE architecture, leveraging the capabilities of SOAFEE to do things like mixed critical orchestration, which is very relevant for a safety critical application such as autonomous driving.
Thank you so much, CJ. I'm really looking forward to hearing a lot more about that later. Ravi, let's head to yourself first from DENSO. Please could you introduce yourself and give us your Shark Tank elevator pitch?
Hi, everyone. I'm Ravi Akella, lead architect for software-defined vehicle R&D at DENSO International America. Through our blueprint, we advocate deterministic software design principles for developing safety-critical SDV applications. Our mission is to solve mixed criticality and environmental parity challenges through our approach.
Thanks so much, Ravi. Yeah, we're going to get a lot into determinism later on. I'm really excited about that. And Chilhee, why don't you introduce yourself and the work you've been doing at LG?
Hello, I'm Charlie Lee, the project leader of the Piccolo Blueprint at LG Electronics. Our blueprint, Piccolo, is a project dedicated to enabling mixed critical orchestration in SDV. It can support safe and scalable deployment of diverse vehicle workloads. Today, it's great honor and truly exciting to have the opportunity to discuss with key members of SOAFEE. Thank you for inviting.
Thank you for joining us, Julie. Really appreciate it. Yeah, looking forward to chatting a bit more about this later. And finally, Jerry, can you introduce yourself a bit more and a bit more about your blueprint as well?
Thank you, Tobias. I'm Jerry Zhao, Chief SDV Architect from Panasonic Automotive. I'm also the chair of SOAFEE APAC Regional Hub. So that's the reason why I'm wearing this t-shirt. The mission of our two blueprints, Unified HMI and Virtual SkipGen, are to provide a hardware agnostic virtualization technology to enable software first development. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. Now, really excited to talk a bit more about the APAC Hub later on. But before we get into all the nuts and bolts of your blueprints and the APAC Hub and so much more, I'd love to zoom out a second, because none of you had to join SOAFEE. And I'd love to talk a bit more about why you did. What was the motivation? What was the gap? What was the challenge that you thought, I can see an opportunity to collaborate here? Ravi, why don't you start off?
Great. So in our view, the SDV technology landscape is too broad, complex, and it's rapidly evolving. The traditional automaker would have to invest a lot of resources and time to embrace this transformation. An industry-led open collaboration will greatly minimize the time for maturing the technology in a moderated way and promotes interdisciplinary dialogue, which is very essential for the development and realization of SDV. SOAFEE's mission of realizing SDVs through creation of reference architectures, approaches, and standards is very appealing to us, and that's why we're here.
Awesome, Ravi. Yeah, and I'd love to, Jerry, get your thoughts as well from Panasonic perspective, Panasonic Automotive's perspective on why you joined SOAFEE as well.
Thank you. We fully share the vision that SOAFEE is aiming to develop a seamless cloud-native environment to enable fast and continuous deliveries to automotive products. And we believe that device virtualization will play a significant role in achieving it, and open collaboration is very important.
That's really great to hear. And Shulhi, from your side and LG side, really interested to hear your perspective on why you joined and the challenges you faced when you thought, I've got to join SOAFEE.
Sure. Piccolo recently added dynamic workload orchestration between vehicle and cloud side. This enables the services to run on AWS without changing existing protocols such as SUMIP or DDS. This brings us closer to SOAFEE's vision of seamless vehicle and cloud integration. Now we are looking for partners who can use and innovate with or connect to Piccolo for building a stronger SDV ecosystem together.
Thanks, Shulhi. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of great SOAFEE momentum already, and I'm sure there's even more people watching who'd love to support you in that. And we'll get into that in a bit more detail in a bit. And finally, CJ, on your perspective, from Autoware's perspective, we'd love to hear why you joined SOAFEE.
Yeah, one of the, I think, driving motivations, Tobias, was that autonomous driving technology is continuing to evolve. We're constantly developing new algorithms, functionality that needs to run on heterogeneous compute. Whether it's CPU, GPU, acceleration logic. So having a architecture, a framework that abstracts the underlying heterogeneous compute system and enables you to coordinate, orchestrate the application running on that platform. So that was one of the really sort of beneficial aspects of SOAFEE that we saw, to really allow us to deploy Autoware in many different system configurations. And then, of course, the cloud native development process, where we have to do a lot of simulation and verification in the cloud of the algorithms before we deploy to vehicles. And again, integrating that sort of system level parity in the cloud to what you run on the edge is also vital in our application.
Absolutely, yes. Whether it's the cloud native approach, whether it's orchestration, whether it's determinism, and whether it's virtualization, we're going to get a lot more detail about those. And the fact that, Julie, as you were saying, you can't solve these problems alone. You need members, you need support, we need collaboration. And these blueprints are really that proof point for helping solve these challenges. So I'd love to just jump right in now to talk about these blueprints in action. And arguably one of the most complex problems, autonomy, CJ. So sticking with yourself, because it's one of the things that's probably about as complex as it gets in the SDV space. And Autoware's Open AD kit has really been pioneering here, and was actually the first SOAFEE blueprint. So I'd love for you to talk a bit more about that and what's coming in version 2, what's part of the stack, because you've done some really exciting work here. As I said, as you were the first SOAFEE blueprint, it's appropriate to start with yourself.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so Autoware is a full stack autonomous driving solution. It's a modular architecture with a well-defined sort of API between the different modules. And what we've been trying to do as part of the Open AD Kit initiative is to look at how do we deploy Autoware within the SOAFEE framework. So the various workloads in autonomy, you have things like perception, prediction, path planning. There's vehicle control. There's safety aspects of the system, like system monitoring and executing minimum risk maneuvers, which are very safety critical, where if there's a failure in the system, you have to safely stop the vehicle. All of these things map very nicely into the SOAFEE architecture from the perspective where we can take these different workloads, we can containerize them, There's the safety critical functionality, like the minimum risk maneuvers that we can map into the safety island functionality supported within SOAFEE. So, you know, you really have a great reference for what you're trying to enable with SOAFEE with autonomy. You have high performance compute requirements, you have safety critical compute, and you really need to orchestrate all of these functions together. So that I think is, you know, what we've been working to enable. We're now at the stage where we have a full stack implementation, leveraging all of this orchestration, mixed critical orchestration capability from SOAFEE. And the next steps that we see now is we're working towards having implementations of OpenAD for the different types of autonomy references that we're working on. So within the foundation, we work on reference designs for passenger vehicles, robotaxis, shuttle buses, off-road applications, construction, mining. Each one of these is a different sensor configuration, has different operational requirements. So the OpenAD Kit framework actually, with this containerization, provides a perfect framework for in each one of these configurations, tailoring the perception, the planning, the control to the particular application with the containerization of the functionality that applies to that particular reference design. And then as we're going forward now, as I said, we continue to evolve and develop new capabilities. So you're seeing a lot more AI, end-to-end AI, modular AI, whether it's perception, prediction, path planning. Again, all of these models that are developed and integrated are within this containerized architecture, leveraging again the cloud native development process. So the ability to take the data that we collect from vehicles, bring it into the cloud, develop the MLOps capabilities in the cloud to not only train the models, but then verify the performance of those models running on virtual prototypes in the cloud, and then deploy them to the edge hardware. And as you pointed out, this is a huge undertaking. This takes many companies working together to kind of build this end-to-end system. So Autoware Foundation working with ARM, with other members like Red Hat and Siemens and Corellium, and all of these partners doing the virtual prototyping in the cloud. That's the only way that we can achieve that kind of system coordination, and the SOAFEE ecosystem is really enabled us to bring all those partners together to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really exciting to see, as we'll talk a bit about later on. In fact, one of the members joining us today is actually leveraging OpenAD Kit. So yeah, I would love to bring you back in to talk about that with Ravi and team. But I'd love to now move from autonomy to let's talk about orchestration, right? Equally important. And we were talking about that just now, CJ. You mentioned it quite a bit in terms of containerization, but also from an orchestration perspective. Piccolo is really important from that, and it's second nature in the cloud, right? Orchestration, and in vehicles, it's pretty transformative. But what many people on the video may not know what orchestration is. Some may not. I'd love, Chili, for you to talk a bit more about what is orchestration and why is Piccolo so suited to this SDV challenge in particular?
Okay, I will explain the orchestration thing and the Piccolo and what is different from the cloud and the vehicle orchestration. Firstly, in the IT domain, the orchestration is about coordinating software components and workloads, deciding where they run, how resources are located, and how services continue during updates or failure situation. In cloud IT, the domain, this is managed by by the heavy platforms like Kubernetes. But the automotive and the SDVs, they face the different challenges. Each issue or each domain has been isolated, and so making the cross-domain service scenarios and the scaling very limited. Piccolo solved this with a lightweight and loss-based orchestration layer that is context-aware. It enables flexible service orchestration across domains and faster scaling of new features, and turning the car into the dynamic service platforms rather than a set of isolated functionality. Innovation in vehicles must still respect safety and deterministic behavior. But Piccolo goes further, bringing the scalability and orchestration needed for complex cross-domain scenarios, while maintaining the reliability and the flexibility. That balance makes Piccolo a key enabler of the software-defined vehicle.
So, Chili, what really is exciting is Piccolo's not just a blueprint that you published, but it's also being pulled directly in by the SOAFEE TSC into SOAFEE's technical world. Could you talk a bit more about that as well?
Yeah, the Piccolo brings a lightweight and context-aware orchestration layer into SOAFEE's EWAR platform. What makes this powerful is that software updates are no longer disruptive or bound to a single issue. They can be orchestrated intelligently across vehicle domains while respecting safety and performance priorities. At the same time, scaling compute or extending services into the cloud. This fundamentally changes how we think about the software lifecycle in vehicles. Instead of static system updated infrequently, cars, automotives become continuously evolving platforms where new features, optimizations, and even AI workloads can be delivered seamlessly. And in the automotive domain, this transformation must always be grounded in two critical principles: safety and determinism. Because without predictable and reliable behavior, through innovation cannot be trusted on automotive domain.
Thanks, Julian. You talked about determinism there, and well, let's talk about determinism. Ravi, I'd love to bring you in and talk a bit more about what determinism is in this context, and in particular, how it relates to your blueprint and the work you've done around lingua franca. It's been some really interesting work. Could you talk a bit more about that?
Great. Determinism, in short, allows you to achieve precise and consistent application behavior across different runs and execution environments. So ideally, you would want determinism at every stage of the application lifecycle. This is important, particularly to SDVs, because the software developed in a cloud-native environment should have functionally safe real-time behavior when deployed to a real vehicle. With technologies such as lingua franca that we integrate into our deterministic middleware, we can enforce precise event scheduling among the application workloads that fully leverage the capabilities of the underlying hardware. Through our first SOAFEE blueprint, we show how our deterministic middleware can be used for modeling, development, and runtime monitoring of the SDV applications.
Absolutely. I love how you said your first SOAFEE blueprint there, Ravi, because we're going to talk a bit more about your second SOAFEE blueprint in just a second. But to kind of bridge the two, I'd love for you to talk a bit about how SOAFEE has accelerated and the SOAFEE ecosystem has really helped accelerate this work. We've hinted about it already, but I'd love for you to talk a bit more about it.
Absolutely. SOAFEE architecture and Evolve in particular have been very useful as we were able to incorporate these cloud-native aspects quickly into our middleware. Our first blueprint also utilizes OpenADKit, which CJ was explaining earlier, which is the first SOAFEE blueprint from the Autoware Foundation. Right? This is great because leveraging contributions from the ecosystem makes it easy to connect, collaborate, and contribute back to the community. We also plan to release a second SOAFEE blueprint towards the end of this year, focusing more on the real-time coordination aspect between the application workloads that are running on the HPC and the safety island.
Thanks, Ravi. And CJ, obviously, as Ravi mentioned, you've been heavily involved in this from the Autoware side and Open AD Kit. It's so great to see. And I saw the demo at our Tokyo seminar earlier this year. Do you mind talking a bit more about from your perspective, how important you see this blueprint and others that are leveraging Open AD Kit?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly as Ravi pointed out, this blueprint allows partners, other companies in the ecosystem to develop and validate new technologies that are required to enable the software-defined vehicle future that we're talking about. So deterministic behavior is very important in our application. So again, leveraging these capabilities from lingua franca in our blueprint going forward is going to be very important for us to build on and continue to enhance the capabilities of Open AD Kit. So we're excited about these opportunities that are created through the work of SOAFEE and the different participants with their blueprints.
Absolutely. And Ravi has already mentioned that there's a second blueprint in the works. So once partners do once one of our members do one blueprint, there's always another idea coming up that will be really exciting. And talking of that, Panasonic Automotive, Jerry, I'd love you to talk a bit more about your two blueprints that you're actively developing right now around vSkipGen and unified HMI. Really interesting work at the intersection of that virtualization piece and the cockpit. I'd love for you, Jerry, to talk a bit more about each of those blueprints. Kind of what problems are they tackling? How do they help in the cockpit and virtual platforms? And maybe get everyone else in the ecosystem jealous, thinking, yeah, I should do a second blueprint too. Two's now the new bar, I think.
Thank you, Tobias. And first of all, both this vSkipGen and Unified HMI are leveraging Virtual, a standard device virtualization framework, to enable the software decoupling from hardware, which exactly implements the SOAFEE vision. So actually, Virtual originated from the server and the cloud world. We realized this value in the automotive system and did a lot of standardization work. So these two blueprints from us exactly the tangible use cases how we use Virtual for automotive. So let me give more details of the two blueprints. The first blueprint, vSkipGen, is a cloud-based platform tailored for the automotive software developers and testers. This innovative solutions allows users to run individual virtual machines in the cloud, supporting various automotive operating systems like Linux, AGL, and Android. So with a Virtual first environment, vSkipGen supports all existing Virtual devices such as GPU, audio, CAN, and video, and extra, which means you can have the exact same virtual interfaces as you use in automotive hardware to guarantee the cloud native parity. So it also provides intuitive web interface that you can evaluate multi-display on a browsers for your whole cockpit system. So the second blueprint, Unified HMI, is a virtual display framework based on and extended from the Virtual GPU. So it enables more flexible and user-friendly UI UX for automotive. It allows you to control the HMI applications across the different operating system, displays, and ECU. You can imagine that all displays in the vehicles can be treated as one big virtual display, and you can put your application anywhere. So this means all your UI UX development will be carried out without relying on the specific hardware. So Unified HMI has been already open sourced by us, so it already supports Linux and AGL, and support for Android is also in progress.
That's super exciting, Jerry. Really, really glad to hear that. And you've personally been incredibly central to SOAFEE's APAC hub. We mentioned it a bit earlier, but I'd love for you to talk a bit more about this regional work that you've been driving with the ecosystem and how that feeds back into the global collaboration that we've seen.
Absolutely. Actually, I also serve as the chair of the SOAFEE APAC Regional Hub. In fact, nearly 40% of SOAFEE member companies are from the APAC region. However, due to the time zone differences, language barriers, only a few members can participate in the regular SOAFEE calls, which often take place at the midnight in APAC time and conducted quickly in English. So our hub aims to address these challenges by connecting the APAC region with the global SOAFEE community, sharing the innovative global initiatives with more APAC members, and bring back the valuable ideas and real-world challenges from the APAC members to the global level. So by the way, I think this idea of establishing SOAFEE APAC Hub was also brought up in the SOAFEE APAC seminar exactly 1 year ago in Korea, and it was held in the LG Science Park. Trinky, do you want to add something about that?
Yes, that's right. The SOAFEE APAC Hub, that idea was first discussed at the SOAFEE APAC Korea events that we hosted at LG Science Park the last year. And thanks to Jerry's dedicated, it has continued to move forward. We see real value in the APAC Hub to connect regional players and accelerate collaboration together. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Shunhee. And it's also your contribution and other contributions from Rivi, from CG. And thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Jerry. Yeah, absolutely. The APAC Hub is doing tremendously well, and long may it continue. And we've talked a lot about, a lot of the blueprints are coming from the APAC Hub and the APAC region, and we've seen some incredible examples today already from that. And we've talked a lot about what the offering is today from these blueprints. But I'd love to hear from each of you briefly. What do you think, as we look ahead, that other people are going to take from your work? What do you want them to build on, to extend, to apply in a new domain? And Ravi, I'd love to hear from yourself first on this.
Great. That's the whole point of blueprints, is that we hope our blueprint will be adopted by teams across the world by developing their own SDV use cases, thereby sharing the results with us in a way that we can improve our contribution. And some of these applications, particularly those that are requiring repeatable and testable behavior, would greatly benefit using our middleware. We would also be interested in exploring efficient ways of achieving parallelism on target hardware and in virtual environments as well.
Thanks so much, Ravi. And CJ, on your side with OpenADK, obviously, as you look ahead with version 2 and all the AI work you're doing, you've seen great momentum already. Where do you hope it goes next?
Definitely want to see the continued evolution of the capabilities around portability of the software across different heterogeneous compute architectures. This is becoming very important as we start to look at the integration of AI workloads and acceleration and these types of things. So having the ability to, like I said, abstract the hardware and deploy across different types of hardware platforms and do all the sort of verification of that in the cloud is going to be very important for us to continue to develop. And then, continuing to look at how do we bring these capabilities together at the system level. So one of the things that I'd like to see our team working on with the other projects here going forward is how do we bring autonomy together with unified HMI and infotainment and telematics and really start to show the complete SDV architecture enabled within this framework.
Thanks so much, CJ. Yes, I'm sure we're seeing a lot more blueprints featuring the work you're doing with OpenADK as it continues to evolve and grow and improve. And Jerry, on your side, would love to hear a bit more about where you think things are going from your blueprint, how people can support and collaborate with you there.
Sure, Tobias. I think both of our two blueprints are already available. So vScreen is available on the AWS Marketplace, and Unified HMI is already available on the GitHub. you can try to build with a description to create a virtual cockpit. And also you can take advantage of unified HMI to build a cross-display HMI systems. So we would like to see more collaboration on these two blueprints to have more innovation in shifting life to the software development and bringing more advanced flexible HMI in the vehicle. And we definitely also want to have some chemical interactions with other blueprints like Piccolo, like lingua franca, so from other companies. So definitely we hope blueprints will be not isolated island. It can be really connected.
Absolutely agree. Yes, they definitely are not going to be isolated islands. We love this collaboration and momentum. And Chili, finally from your side, where do you see the opportunity for collaboration here moving forward?
I see blueprints as a real foundation we can build on together. In Piccolo side, we have made the source code available openly in the Eclipse Pulpit on GitHub. And it's also on AWS Marketplace, so anyone can try and integrate it today. We are not just sharing the source code, we are inviting the collaboration. Our vision is to connect these modules through a unified API layer, much like how Kubernetes use the custom controllers to manage diverse resources. For example, imagine managing a shared memory for the real-time workload or device manager that handles sensor access policies. By defining a common specification, we can ensure that each resources, whether it's memory, compute, or the IO thing, or the sensor, or the actuating, is orchestrated under a consistent policy framework. This is why we open sourced the Pulpit and have been actively involved in the SOAFEE from our blueprint as Piccolo. Our goal is very simple. Let's use these open projects and let's build this SDV platform together.
Absolutely. Yeah, really excited for this, the SDV platform of the future. And let's broaden that out a bit. We've talked all about your blueprints. We've talked about the opportunities and challenges as we look ahead there. But if SOAFEE and the ecosystem out there is going to deliver on the software-defined vehicle, the AI-defined vehicle promise, what's the next big challenge that you think as industry leaders out there that we're going to need to tackle in the next 3 to 5 years? Chili, I'll come back to you on this one. Where do you see the next big challenge from the AI and software-defined vehicle more broadly?
Yeah, you already mentioned the AI-defined vehicles. So if I think about the next 5 years, the real challenges you already mentioned is how we bring the AI into the SDVs with safe and secure. As you know, the AI has huge potential, but it also comes with the heavy risks, like the unpredictability or the hallucinations. That we can't ignore these inner vehicle systems. So the question is, how do we orchestrate, how do we update, and how do we validate AI workloads? If we get that right direction together, I believe AI will become a core part of the SDV value.
Thanks so much there, Chili. And Ravi, from your perspective, we've heard a bit about AI. What other challenges and the next big challenge if we're going to deliver on AI-defined vehicle and software-defined vehicle do you see here?
Yeah, too many. In my opinion, the major ones are that we need to play a key role in changing the public acceptance of the SDV technology, because that's often a less talked about concept, especially when we consider aspects such as safety, privacy, and security. What guarantees does SDV technology provide to the end user? So I hope SOAFEE continues to lead in defining the broader SDV ecosystem as well, meaning the technology that goes beyond the scope of the vehicle itself.
Absolutely. And the membership continues to grow. The blueprints continue to build momentum. So I'm sure we'll see even more of those challenges looked at and maybe not solved, but certainly looked at for sure. And we've got solutions to them. CJ, from your perspective as well, would love to hear where you see things going more broadly in the industry over the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, so I think one of the key things that we have to work on together is the enablement of the platform that these technologies are going to run and be deployed upon, particularly looking at how do you bring together the required hardware and software to implement these systems, meaning, you know, AI is going to put significant demands on these systems in the future. Acceleration of AI workloads combined with more traditional compute workloads, CPU, MCU, and so forth. So the hardware platforms, you know, are going to need to be developed and verified, both first in the cloud virtually to accelerate the development of the software running on those platforms. And there's still quite a bit of work that we have to do to really enable that sort of virtual prototyping of these future architectures that are going to run these entire frameworks that we're talking about here today in a software-defined vehicle. And I think that's still one of the big challenges that we have.
Absolutely. And Jerry, finally, from your perspective, would love to hear where you see things go in the next few years.
Yes, of course. All the visions shared from Seiji, from Chunki, from Revis are really inspiring. And as chair of the SOAFEE APAC Regional Hub, I would like to highlight one more perspective. So APAC is not only a major market, it's also a source of innovation. So our mission is to build a bridge between the APAC and the global SOAFEE community. Through SOAFEE Blueprints, we have already shared APAC-born ideas with world and bringing global insights back to the SOAFEE APAC specific challenges. So I think the next big challenge is connection, connecting ecosystems, connecting regions, and connecting companies and people. So that's how we can shape the future of mobility together.
Couldn't agree with you more, Jerry. Absolutely. And before we wrap up, people are wondering, wow, these blueprints are so great. How can I engage with them? How can I access them? We've highlighted it a couple of times throughout, but I'd love to just summarize in one line. How can people engage with each of your blueprints? And Jerry, you've articulated the value of SOAFEE so well and your blueprints so well. Let's start with you. Where do you see people, how do people engage with your blueprints? Just remind folks.
As already mentioned, vScreen is available on the AWS Marketplace, Unified HMS on the GitHub, and also you can find me in the APAC Regional Hub. And I definitely welcome more people to attend our APAC Hub call and participate all the activities. Thanks
so much, Jerry. And CJ, how about yourself? Where, in one line, how can people engage with that blueprint?
Yeah, the best place to start is the Autoware Foundation website. Everything we do is open, starting from the open source, which is available through GitHub. You'll find all the documentation and code for OpenAD-Kit there. And then also the OpenAD-Kit work group, where we collaborate with all of our partners, is also something that anybody can join, and you can access the meeting invite through the foundation website.
Thanks so much, CJ. Julie, from your side, how do people get in touch and talk about your blueprint?
You can start with the Pulpit, the open source version of the Piccolo on our GitHub site, and or you can connect AWS Marketplace, the name as the Pulpit. You can also download so you can build the SDB platform together, and or you can make your own function, or you can validate your workload by the Pulpit or the Piccolo, our systems. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Julie. And finally, Ravi, how do people get in touch to talk about your blueprint?
Yeah, first of all, we think users of our blueprint will see the application of deterministic design principles for the SDV in practice. So please try our source code. It's hosted on GitHub. Reach out to me. So we hope that they can apply it to their use cases of interest and share their findings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi, and thank you everyone for all of your great insights and your amazing raising insights, and really, really appreciate your time. I hope you've enjoyed it as well, and what we've seen today is blueprints aren't just technical demos. They're the real building blocks, the scaffolding of a new era in software and automotive, and the more companies that do it, the stronger that scaffolding, the stronger those building blocks are going to get, and that's how we prepare for what's to come, whether it's AI, whether it's determinism, orchestration, virtualization, and so much more. SOAFEE's the place to do that. So stay tuned for more content on each of our blueprints, both the ones that you've heard from today and some really exciting ones coming up, as well as other exciting announcements still to come from the SOAFEE community. So on behalf of SOAFEE and the Embedded Computing Design, thank you CJ, thank you Jerry, thank you Chuli, thank you Ravi for your great insights. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.